Chapter 6 Swamp Creature. Caw, caw. Caw, caw, caw. Jack slowly came out of his dream. He opened his eyes with a start. He was surrounded by hazy sunlight. Where am I? He thought in a panic. Then he remembered. He was in India, on an elephant's back. He sat up. Through the haze, he thought a Saba was standing on the muddy stream bank. Jack yawned. Where was Annie? The other elephant was off streams. They sprayed waters on each other with their trunk. Teddy, Ka, and Co were at the edge of the forest. Teddy sniffed at the tall grass. The longhairs ate flowers. Good morning, called Annie. She was sitting on the big black rock downstream. She was barefoot and soaking wet. Hi, said Jack. How did you get down? Teddy and I slipped off Saba into the mud, said Annie. Try it, but throw down your sneakers and backpack first. Annie went to Saba's side. Her feet was buried in mud and her feet were buried in mud up onto her ankle. Jack threw his things to Annie. Then he patted Saba's raw wrinkled skin. Thanks for the ride, he said softly. The elephant touched him one last time with her trunk. Jack slid down her side, feet first, and fell into the mud. He caught himself with his hand. They sank into the mud past his wrists. His glasses were spattered too. Wash off in the streams, Annie says. She put Jack's pack on and shoes on the rock while Jack waded into the cool water. He washed the mud off his hands and feet. He rinsed off his glasses. Then he looked around. Saba had joined the rest of the herd. The elephant looked beautiful in the morning. A mist. Everything looked beautiful. Yellow and blue water bird sprayed the rings. Mossy hanging vines stay in the breeze. Huge white flowers floated on top of the streams. Then Jack saw the strange sight. It looked like a horn, and two ears sticking out of the waters. One ear flicked away a fly. There's a weird creature out here, he called Annie. It looked like it has a horn. Annie waded into the streams. I better check the book, said Jack. He hurried to his pack, wiping his wet hands on his t-shirt. He pulled out the India book. There was a picture of the horn sticking out of the water. He read, the one-horned rhinoceros or rhino wash in the forest streams. Rhinos are not usually dangerous, but because they do not see well, they sometimes charge at things by mistake. A loud noise will stop them. Jack felt sorry for the rhino. Too bad animals can't wear glasses, he thought. He read more. The Indian rhino is very endangered animal. This means that there are not many left. People called poachers kill them and sell their body parts as medicines and good luck charms. Jack started to take out his notebook. Just then, a sloppy swashing sound came from the water. Whoa, said Annie. Jack looked up. The rhino rose from the streams. He looked like an ancient sea creature. Oh man, said Jack. The rhino peered at Annie with his tiny eyes. He snorted and lowered his head. His horn pointed right to Annie. Made a loud noise, Jack yelled. Annie clapped her hands and shouted, "We come in peace!" The rhino stopped. He grunted. Then he sank back into the water. Annie laughed. "You," said Jack. "I better take some notes about the big guy." "Arf, arf," Teddy barked from the edge of the forest. "I better get Teddy's," said Annie. She hurried down the streams and ran to get the dog. Jack pulled out his notebook and wrote, "One-horned rhino and endangered animals need glasses." "Jack," shouted Annie. She was riding toward him. She was racing toward him with Teddy's at her heel. "Come quick." "What's wrong?" he says. "He found something terrible." Annie was close to his tears. "Really terrible."
Chapter 7. Trap. Jack threw his thing into his pack and followed Annie into the forest edge. Teddy stayed close to them, whinnying. Ka and Coo bounced around, chattering nervously. As Jack got closer, he saw a tiger. A tiger was lying on his side, completely still. His eyes were closed. His front paws was caught in the trap. "Is he dead?" said Jack. "No, he's still breathing," Annie says. A tear ran down her cheek. He warned out from struggling. "He must have gotten caught last night. That's the sad sound he heard." "What can we do?" said Jack. "We have to free him," said Annie. She started toward the tigers. Wait, Jack rapped. "Tigers eat people, you know." He took a deep breath. "Now, let's see what the book says first." "Hurry," said Annie. Jack opened their India book. He found a chapter called Tiger Trap. He read, "Poachers catch Indians, tigers with steel trap. This is against the law. After trapping a tiger, they killed it and sell the body part for money. Like a rhino, the tiger is a very injured species. If the kill does not end, they both face extinctions. Extinctions means that some days there may be no Indians, tigers, or rhino left on Earth." "Oh man, we do have to save him," said Jack. Under the writing was a picture of the steel traps used to catch tigers. Jack started it. "It looked horribly and deadly." "Okay," he says. He showed the picture to Annie. "Here's your plan. I'll push down on his part. The trap will spring open. Then you pull his leg out. Got it?" "Got it," said Annie. "Sit, Teddy," the little dog said. The longer watched silently as Jack and Danny moved closer to the tiger. He was the most majestic creature Jack had ever seen. His huge head was dark orange color. He had perfect black and white stripes around his wide face. The legs in the ugly steel traps was bleeding. Slowly, silently, Jack pushed down the lever. He raised the bar of the tiger's leg. The tiger kept sleeping. Slowly, silently, Annie freed the tiger's leg. She stroked his fur gently. "Got well," she whispered. The tiger didn't move. Slowly, silently, Jack and Danny stood up. They turned around. They started tiptoeing back toward the longer. "Coo, coo, coo," warned Ka and Coo. Jack and Danny turned back. The tiger was on his feet. He stared right at them. His eyes seemed to glow. Jack looked about wildly. How could they escape? The tiger snarled at Jack and Danny. Then slowly, silently, he started toward them. Chapter 8. Wonder Dog. The huge tiger limped closer and closer to Jack and Danny. Jack clapped his hands. "We come in peace," he shouted, but the tiger didn't turn away. His eyes blazed, his lip curled. "Arf, arf!" Teddy barked fiercely at Annie. "Teddy says run and hide," said Annie. She grabbed Jack's hand and pulled him over to the back. "Wait, what about Teddy?" he cried. "Don't worry," Annie says. She pulled Jack down behind the black rock. "What about Teddy?" Jack asked again. "He's okay. He told me," said Annie. Jack turned. Teddy's bark turned and Fish growled. "Arf, arf, roar, roar." The growl grew louder and louder. "That doesn't sound like Teddy," said Jack. Then suddenly there was silence, a strange silence. "Teddy?" Annie asked. Now she sounded worried. Annie raised her hands. Jack and Annie both peered over the rock. Teddy stood tall and brave in the grass. The tiger was leaping away. He disappeared between the trees. All the forest seemed to hold its breath until Annie broke the silence. "Teddy, you're a wonder dog," she says. The longer clap and jump up and down. "Arf, arf!" Teddy was just like a small trophy dog again. He wagged his tail and ran to Jack and Annie. Annie scooped him into her arms. "You saved us," she said. "How did you drive away that tiger?" asked Jack, rubbing Teddy's head. "Did you turn to the wild dog?" Teddy just panted and licked them both. Teddy pushed his glasses into place and looked back at the forest. "Well, I guess we don't be getting a thank you gift from that tiger," he says. Annie laughed. "I guess not," she says. "I wonder where our gift is." "And I wonder where the treehouse is," said Jack. Ka and Co chattered at Jack. Then they bounced down the bank, waving their arms. "They want us to follow them again," said Annie. "Come on." She and Jack grabbed their things off the rock. They hurried down the stream after the longer. The water streamers in the early light. Silverfish leaped into the air. Teddy bounded ahead with Ka and Goo. Soon they disappeared around the bend. Jack and Danny followed them. When they went around the bend, they saw the man sitting cross-legs on the rock. The longer sat close to him. The man's eyes were closed. He had long white hairs and long white beard. His skin looked brown. He looked very peaceful. Chapter 9. The Hermit. Ka and Ku smoothed the man's hair with their little paw and patted their cheeks gently. The man smiled and whispered to the longers. His eyes stayed closed. Teddy walked up to the man and licked his hands. The man still didn't open his eyes, but he stroked Teddy's fall. "Knock, knock," Annie said softly. "Is someone there?" the man asked. He turned his face toward Jack and Danny. Now his eyes were open, but he did not seem to see them. Jack realized that man was blind. "Hi, I'm Annie," said Annie. And I'm Jack," said Jack. The blind man smiled. "Good," he said, nodding. "Would you like to visit with me?" "Sure," said Danny. She and Jack sat down next to them. "Do you live in this forest?" Annie asked. "Yes," he says. "Are you a hermit?" Jack asked. "Yes," the blind man says. "What's the hermit?" said Annie. "Hermits live far away from other people," said the blind man. "We like to be alone to think. I live in the forest so I can learn from nature." "How do you learn?" asked Jack. "I listen," said the blind man. "Listen to what?" asked Jack. "To the chatter of monkeys, the rumbling of the elephant, the roar of the tiger," said the man. "I have listened for so long they have all begun to sound like one voice, one great voice of the forest." Did the boys tell you the tigers got caught in the trap last night? Asked Annie. Yes, the hermit says. And did it tell you that after we saved him he tried to attack us? Said Jack. The blind man smiled. Please bring me one of the white flowers floating on the streams, he says. Jack wondered why the hermit was changing the soft Jack. But Annie jumped up and hurried to the streams. She pulled at one of the large flowers. It came up, muddy roots and all. She took it to the blind man. Thank you, said Jack. The man touched the flower's large white petals and its dirty root. These perfect glass blossoms grew from dark, thick mud, he said. Its beauty cannot live without it unless. Do you understand? Yes, said Jack and Danny. When you saved the tigers, you saved all of him, said the blind man. You saved his grateful beauty, and his fierce saved nature. You cannot have one without the others. All right, said Jack. Take this lotus as the thank you gift from all the forest for saving our first friends, said the blind man. Our world would not be complete without him. And he took a gift from the hermit. The gift from the forest far away, she says. Arf, arf, Teddy wagged his tail. The longer clapped. Now we can go home now, said Jack, if we can just find a way. Do not worry, said the blind man. Your house in the trees is close by. The elephant walked in the large circle. So you are back at the place where you started. Really? Said Jack. The blind man pointed to the sky. There was a magic treehouse high in the nearby trees. Oh, great, put in Jack. I told you not to worry, said Annie. She and Jack pulled on their socks and shoes and stood up. Before they left, Annie touched the hands of the blind man. Thanks for everything, she says. The man held her hands for a moment. Then he took Jack's hand. Jack felt the wave of calm wash over him. Thank you, he said to the blind man, caught and cool chatters, and held out their long arms. Jack and Danny hugged the two lungers. We will miss you, said Danny. You were great tour guides, said Jack. Goodbye. Then he and Danny took off for Magic Treehouse with Teddy trampling after them. At the rope ladder, Jack put Teddy into his pack and climbed up. Annie carried the lungers bosom as they followed them. Inside the treehouse, Jack picked up the Pennsylvania book, but before he made a wish, he looked out the window with Annie. In the distance, they saw Saba and the other elephant bathing in the streams. They saw Ka and Ku swinging on vines. They saw the tigers, some bathing in the grass, licking his sore legs. They saw tiny deer gazing. Then they saw bright birds in the trees. They saw the blind man sitting in front of his cave. He was smiling. Jack opened the book. He pointed to the picture of the Frog Creek woods. I wish we could go home, he says. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. The treehouse started to spin. The wind started to blow. It blew harder and harder. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 10. Who are you, really? Jack opened his eyes. Late afternoon sunlight shined into the treehouse. Our third gift, said Annie. She put the lotus blossom behind the pocket from watch from the Titanic and the eagle feather from Locust Indians. One more gift, she said to Annie. She said to Teddy, you'll be free from your spell. The little dog licked her hands. Hey, tell me this, said Jack. How did you know Teddy's wanted us to hide behind the rock? Annie shrugged. I just knew, she said. I think I saw in his eyes. You did? Jack looked into Teddy's eyes. The little dog titled his head and stared back at Jack. Teddy's eyes twinkled as if they held many secrets. Who are you, really? Whispered Jack. Teddy just smiled a doggy smile, then wagged his tail. Come for us again soon, she says. And he says, okay? Teddy sneezed as if to say, of course. Jack grabbed his pack, then he and Danny climbed down the rope ladder. When they stood on the ground, they looked up. The little black nose was poking out the treehouse window. Bye, they called. Arf, arf. Teddy, Jack, and Danny took off between the trees. Birds sang in the twilight. Squirrels trampled playfully through the leaves. The Frog Creek woods were very calm after the forest in India. Soon they came into the streets. As they walked to their house, the last bit of daylight was bringing away. Before they went inside, Jack and Danny sat on their step. I have two questions, said Jack. If the hermit couldn't see, how did he know about the treehouse? And how did he know about that we had traveled all night in the elephant? Easy, said Annie. The one great voice of the forest told him. Said Jack. He closed his eyes for a moment and listened. He heard a car going down the street. He heard a woodpecker picking. He heard cricket chirping. He heard a screen door opening. He heard a mom saying, time for dinner, kids. All the sounds were like one great voice. The one great voice of home.